All right. Dude, sometimes it's just not in the cards, Matthew. It's just not in the cards, my friend. The Phoenix Suns lose by a score of 111-95 to the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. And, when you get those little Twitter notifications, and I have 3 notifications set on Twitter. I got Adrian Wojnarowski, I got Shams Charania, and I got the Phoenix Suns. And when the Phoenix Suns send that little, kind of pre-game, hey, here's the health report, and you see Dario Saric out, yeah, Frank Kaminsky out, Abdel Nader out, oh yeah, injury management, Devin Booker still out, DeAndre Ayton out, and now Jalen Smith out. You don't expect to win, do you?
No, not really. I don't know. I think everyone's sick, but the thing is, like, what are they sick with? Because DeAndre Ayton, he's sick, but he's on the bench. It must be like a pooping thing. I don't know if he just has the trots. So I'm sick. Everyone's freaking sick right now. I mean, next game, who had a good game? Oh, Ish Wainright had a good game tonight. So next game, he'll be sick. He'll be out because Jalen Smith, he showed up last game. Now he was out tonight. So it sucks, man. Honestly, yeah, I expected them to put up a fight like tonight. It was kind of there. It was always the 10 points they couldn't get over, but I don't know. I didn't really expect much tonight. It was just a weird freaking night, right?
Yeah, overall, and I'll get into that after we do the drops and everything, but definitely a weird evening, a very weird evening. So,
yeah,
first and foremost, how you feeling, man?
Oh, I'm sick. I don't know. I might not. I feel like crap. I felt good yesterday, and I went to that light thing, Schnepp's Farm, and I got sick again.
Dude, something's going around. You see it all across the NBA. Suns Geek and I were talking about it on the last podcast, how everyone's kind of sick everywhere. We're kind of hitting this time of the year where everybody just seems to be down and out, and rosters are decimated kind of across the entire National Basketball Association. So, and kudos to Suns Geek. One of the things I want to give him props, I don't know if you even watched the pod, Matthew, but as we were recording last time, for those of you who don't know, Suns Geek lives in the Midwest. And as we were recording, like, his lights were flickering, his phone was going off with like warnings and such. And it just so happened that some of the most devastating tornadoes this country has ever seen, especially in December, were occurring not too far from where Suns Geek was. So I just want to let everybody know who is listening to this podcast, or if you're watching along live on YouTube, we thank you for doing so. If you want to donate to the American Red Cross, just hit up 1-800-733-2767 or visit the redcross.org, and that'll assist in donating to the Midwest that, again, was unbelievably decimated. And I tip my hat to you again, Suns Geek. We didn't know kind of what was going on. We were just doing a post-game podcast, but you had those really wicked tornadoes that ripped through the middle of the country. And again, weird times, man, weird times.
Yep. Definitely.
So I take it you're not going to be popping open a beer with me. Are you going to be popping open some like Pepto-Bismol or something? Do you have the trots?
Pepto-Bismol? No trots over here.
no trots.
Just a cold. I don't know dude. I feel like death today again. But no, just some water.
Oh, that's good. I'm gonna pop open a Budweiser. I could use one after a long work day. So pop them if you got them, Suns fans. Let's talk about this game against the Los Angeles Clippers. There, hey, cheers. Yes, it was a loss that I don't feel like very many Suns fans are surprised about. And it's interesting, one of our good friends, Sabrina Merchant, who is a beat writer for the Los Angeles Clippers, she wrote a tweet about 14 minutes ago, and she said, Phoenix Suns legend Marcus Morris Sr. And I said, how dare you? And her response is like, hey, I had today off, literally just turned it on. What in the world happened? And this was my reply. I said, no DA, no Book, no depth at the 5 without Kaminsky, Smith, and Saric. Lou wisely attacked and got the Suns in foul trouble early. When Ish Wainright is getting that many minutes, advantage to the Clippers. And overall, that's kind of a good way to describe what happened this evening as the Suns dropped to 21-5. But still...
Matthew, I got to ask.
This one's pretty easy, Matthew. Fuck LA, right?
Yeah. Tonight, I don't know. I wasn't very negative about the Clippers. Do you hate the Clippers? Do they count as like an LA thing?
No.
Like,
So I'm going somewhere with this.
all right,
So
let's go. Oh yeah, you're a Cardinals fan. Yeah, sorry
I'm
about
a
tonight.
Cardinals fans. They played the Los Angeles Rams, and the way that game ended right as this game began. So I know plenty of you who are listening aren't necessarily fans of the Arizona Cardinals or fans of football in general. Shout out to all the Jamsters who are overseas. Whether it be from Germany, Argentina, the Philippines, Jamaica. We've got listeners all over the planet, which is fantastic. And you probably know that the NFL is, for the most part, an American followed sport. But a huge game tonight for the Arizona Cardinals, a game in which they completely beat themselves, in my opinion. I was having a conversation with my dad, and he's like, well, that kind of sucked. Every time I watch the Cardinals, they end up losing. I need to stop watching the Cardinals. Like, yes, Dad, please stop. But I mean, it was just one of those games where they kind of beat themselves. But they still had a
Mhm.
chance at the end. They recover an onside kick. And then they just kind of fizzle away. And as they fizzled away, the Suns started, and they started by fizzling to start. I mean, they began this game 1-11 from the field. So after everything's said and done, if you're a fan of Arizona sports, you woke up this morning on top of the NFL and on top of the NBA. And by tonight, you are in second place in both. And it's all because of Los Angeles. And I know many people know that I am a Dodgers fan. That is my only affiliation to LA. I grew up in LA. That was my team. I was raised to be a Dodger fan. I was not raised to be a Clippers fan nor a Rams fan. So therefore I say, Matthew, fuck LA, right?
Yeah, approved. Yeah, for you, for sure. I was watching some of the Cardinals game, but because of fantasy reasons, that's about it. But other than that, you can't win them all, right, John? I mean, the Cardinals were so hot; everyone was about to talk about them, and then
Yeah, they were about
they
to.
they were about to talk about them, so then they had to lose. That's just how it works.
Well, and I think today is one of those reasons that reminds us how sport always humbles you. Because I'm not going to lie, I was working tonight, and in the restaurant, I had the game on, and people are like, who's playing tonight? I'm like, oh, just the best team in the NFL, the 10-2 Arizona Cardinals. It's like the moment that came out of my lips. And then I instantly followed up like, yeah, we also have the best team in the NBA. I'm like, you know what? Anytime I talk any shit, and I hope that a lot of our Jamsters realize, like, I don't really talk a lot of shit about how great my teams are. I'm in wow when my teams are doing fantastic, and I don't really go out of my way to talk shit about other teams outside of like LeBron. But I mean, it just goes to show you, like, the moment you're feeling good about a team, the moment you feel like the Suns are on a roll, the moment you feel like the Cardinals are about to take over and really just kind of be on the precipice of everybody finally giving them credit, a night like tonight happens. And overall, as you mentioned earlier, Matthew, it's just a night that kind of felt weird. Everything felt off. I'm up here in Reno. Shout out to my Ranchera group out here who I've been working with. A lot of fun times we're having up here, but it's cold. It rained literally all day. It's probably snowing right now. It's supposed to start snowing right at
Oh, pretty.
at 11 o'clock our time. So it's just weird vibes today, bro. Weird vibes.
It is. And then when you said the Suns started after the Cardinals lost that game and they were just kind of hazy too. I think that when you watch Jay Crowder hitting the 2 threes that were not even threes, they were twos, his feet on the line twice in a row, it's going to be an off night. That never happened. That's a Booker special right there. Jay doesn't ever usually do that. Two times in
No.
a row, when that starts the game, you only have 4 points for like forever.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a super super long night. And then when you're trying to focus the offense around Landry Shamet to try to get him going, and you can just tell how frantic he was and trying to keep his minutes and trying to make something of it. It wasn't working out. I think those are the two things that I noticed right away off the bat, because they had to find some other guy to get hot, and no one, even Chris Paul struggled very 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 bad tonight. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks Suns. That will get
Yeah,
better.
it was just holistically, it was a poor performance. As you mentioned, I mean, the Suns had 4 points with like 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Now, granted, they closed that first quarter by scoring a total of 21 points, and the Clippers had 27. But, kudos to Ty Lue and how he attacked this evening. He knew that the Suns were unbelievably thin at the big position. So
Yeah.
they attacked JaVale McGee, they attacked Jay Crowder, and both were in foul trouble almost instantly. But midway through the second quarter, they were both out, and you're running small ball lineups with Cam Johnson running the 5, Ish Wainwright's out there, gobbling up minutes. And I guess I'll ask you this question. Is Ish Wainwright any good, Matthew?
If you give him like 10 shot attempts and he misses all 10, then I think he can really keyed up after that. Because I think that's what happened tonight too. But I love his how many offensive rebounds did he have tonight? He had was it just
2.
two? But there
Just
were
the
two
2.
two pretty big ones to keep the lead at like 10 later in the game. And I just think that when he's shooting that many shots and he finally gets hot from even 3, he hits the one shot from 3 and then he has to put back dunk. I mean, that's pretty fun, right? It's a fun thing, and it kind of got the momentum back for the Suns. I think when McGee's starting the game, he's of course not going to be that guy that can come in and give the energy that the Suns need because he's already exhausted. He's not a starting 5. So him playing off the bench is his role. Ish Wainwright was trying to be that guy, was trying to be like the McGee tonight. It didn't work out, of course, but there were some fun plays from him. Do you think he's good? I don't think he's very, very good, but you have to play him. I don't think you have a choice, obviously.
Yeah, without a doubt. This is one of those games where I'm not going to sit and argue with the fact that he played a total of 13 minutes in this game, 15 minutes. I'm not going to argue with that because we needed him. Like, again, we were decimated at our bigs position. Although he's not necessarily a big, he's somebody who allows other players like Cam Johnson to play a little bit bigger, because they're forced to ultimately. But, consistently during this run where he's been playing, I don't think that he's very good at all. He's a two-way contract player, and there's a reason why. And I like that the Suns have given him a chance, but it's just like, I think the Wainwright experiment, once we move past some of these injuries, is definitely kind of over. He lacks. He's got the athleticism, he's got the drive, and those are two things that you want, but he lacks the skill. I mean, he's like you mentioned, it felt like he had a bunch of offensive rebounds because he was under the basket all the time, but nothing even came close to going back in on any put-ups. It's like he's just jumping up there and punching the ball up in the air or something, like he's a volleyball player or something. It's just there's no skill there, and you need skill in the NBA to be successful.
Yeah, but if you're sitting in a room and you're like at a restaurant with your wife, you don't want him to walk in. Like, he's the one guy you don't want to walk in because then your wife won't be there for dessert. I swear to God, dude, that guy is just he's a statue, man. He's a statue. I think that's his two kids or something on his shoulders. He's a pretty amazing looking man, dude.
He's a statue. I love it. But again, just to kind of fortify the point on Ty Lue, if you look at the free throw attempts in the first half, the Suns were 1 for 2, and the Clippers were 13 of 18. So, I mean, they outshot the Suns by 16 free throws in that first half. And, I'm not even mad. This isn't one of those games where, and don't get me wrong, there was a couple calls that were definitely frustrating to see. Eddie Johnson really was driving home the point on the Elfrid Payton offensive foul that would have cut the lead to 6. I mean, the Suns fought back. He would have got an and one opportunity that could have cut it to 6. And then because that offensive foul was called, and for those of you who didn't watch the game, Elfrid Payton drove to the hoop, went up in the lane as he does, and as his hand was coming down, not out, not extended from his body, but just kind of down in the natural motion. When you jump up, guess what? When you jump up with one hand, your other hand kind of comes down to do it. And in doing so, he hit Reggie Jackson kind of on the nose, and it was like, this big dramatic Los Angeles-esque Hollywood performance by Jackson. They reviewed it. They called the an offensive foul, and then the Clippers responded with the 6-0 run. They push it right back up to a 14-point lead, and at that time the game was over. For the most part, that would have been the one chance the Suns had to really kind of come back and keep this game close. But outside of that, it wasn't a bunch of fouls in that first half that I was just like, dude, what are you doing? It was like, damn it, dude, they know exactly what they're going to do. They're just, they're going to attack us, man.
Yeah, and there was a time too at the end of the third when the Suns did get the Clippers into foul trouble. Cam Johnson was actually pretty smart, just to try to draw fouls and get to the line. It seemed like it was the only thing that they could do is try to get to the rim, try to draw fouls. Even at the 3-point line, he was trying to draw fouls. So they're trying to play the foul game. I think when the Suns start to do that, they know a lot of things aren't really hitting offensively, and sometimes that can get them back into the game. Of course, it didn't tonight. Like you said, anytime it would go to even 10 points, it'd be pushed right back up. They just couldn't stop them. The defense from the Clippers too, the Suns could not make a mistake. They were just swarming them all over the place. So it was difficult for Chris Paul to really go through any spurts of taking over or finding teammates. getting anybody else really involved in this game. And plus, like you're not going to have these guys really knock down shots. You try to get Shamit, like I said, early in the game, and then in the third quarter started to try to get him back into the game to try to find somebody. It didn't work. Even him and McGee trying a 2-man game,
Hmm.
that didn't work. It's just you're trying to find too much. McGee had a hell of a game, I thought, still, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, and he didn't get a chance to have much of a game because again he was in foul trouble, so he couldn't really get it
Yeah.
going, if you will. And when you have lesser talent on the court, it's the Suns ended up shooting 37.5% on the night. They went 36 of 96, and the Clippers shot 55.1%. So you take that into account. You take into account that they were shooting the three ball at a much better clip. They were just a lot more efficient tonight, and you're not overly surprised by the end result. Los Suns in the chat says, why hasn't Mikal stepped up since everyone says he's the number
Yeah.
3 option? I guess you would say he's the number 3 option. Is he the number 3 option? Like
He should have been.
like right now, yes, right? Like, but not
Yeah, right
normally.
now.
He's not the number 3 option normally.
It was close. I kind of thought like him and Aiden kind of shared the third option with Booker and Chris Paul. It's weird tonight because I thought they would have used Mikal more. I know he ended with 16 points, but it
Mhm.
seemed like they just took forever to try to mix him into things. He was kind of standing in the corner a lot tonight. And like those minutes, they're trying to get Shamit involved. I know it's something to try to do differently and trying to get someone hot. But I think Mikal, he has the experience where he can muster up some shots, get to the foul line like he did. His defense led to a steal and then a putback, or not a putback, but just the and one on the other side. So he has that little floater, the little fadeaway through in the paint to
Mhm.
where he has options offensively. I mean, we've seen it. And beginning of the season, we thought he would. I think I even wrote something stupid about Mikal being the third guy, and
It was
I saw
stupid.
it. Yeah,
I'm just
it
kidding.
it totally was. But Mikal was gonna be like that guy, I thought, and they kind of went away from it. So a game like this, where he's that sick pass from Chris Paul on the fast break for the dunk, and then another find from Chris Paul to Mikal cutting, that was like, okay, here he is. I kind of forgot he was even on the offense, and then they just kind of went away from it. And then they kind of went to him a little bit, and he kind of tried to set some stuff up. He set up his own shot, and it kind of hit the back of the rim, came out, but I think he needed be more of a focal point on the offense tonight, but it wasn't really there the whole time.
Well, I think that when it comes to Mikal being a third option, first and foremost, I don't think when our team is healthy, I don't think he is the third option. I think it goes Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, and then Mikal. Okay, because
Okay.
I mean, in order of offensive output from our offense, and that's why I say whenever Jay Crowder has a great night, like it's a good night for your team because he's your fifth option. Right
Yeah.
now, obviously, with all the injuries, yes, I definitely think that he needs to be stepping up more, and I feel like in the third quarter, and I actually wrote it in my notes. I wrote Mikal, he's doing his best 1994 Scottie Pippen impression in quarter number 3. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you remember Scottie Pippen in 1994, Matthew, but
Yeah, dude.
but that was the year without MJ, and that was the
Mhm.
year where Scottie Pippen just said, "Fuck it, I'm going for it." And in the third quarter, it was probably discussed at halftime. It's like, listen, Mikal, you're going to have to start generating some of your own offense because Mikal's offense generally is predicated on cutting or being stationary out on the perimeter or just doing things off ball that allow him to be successful versus actually trying to do something on ball. Now, we've seen a lot of his success come when he is off ball behind the 3-point line. They dish it to him, and instead of stroking a 3, he understands that the defense is closing on him, so therefore he drives to the hoop, and then he does that kind of mid-range shot that you referenced. But I feel
Yeah.
like in the third quarter tonight, he took a total of 10 field goal attempts the entire game. 4 of those came in the third quarter when he finally was just like, you know what? I'm going to try to create some of my own offense. He went 2 for 4, scored 7 of his 16 points in that third quarter. So I feel like we saw just a little glimpse of him just kind of going into Scottie Pippen fuck it mode. I've got to be an offense generator rather than a tertiary or whatever the word for fourth is, fourth-ry first option. I don't want to be the first
Mhm.
option anymore. So
Forsh.
so two low Suns kind of comment about whether, he stepped up or not. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing we're all looking for. And again, Eddie mentioned it very briefly on this podcast, but I thought it was a very valuable thing they said. He's like, this should be a fun game for these guys. Because with so many of your stars out, like, this is really a chance to shine. And I felt like they had that opportunity to shine and they just missed on it.
Yeah, but the Clippers play very, very tough, and I think like the amount of time it took, like even Mikal Bridges and Shamet to really get any any offense going. Shamet had like 2 field goals in a row in the third, but by the time he scored his second field goal, it was like the Clippers were already up by like 15. So it was like every time like the Suns would score, it seemed like it would take forever. Like every other possession, the Clippers in between were just nailing shots. Sometimes we'll go through a slump, of course, let the Suns back in, but it just seemed like the Suns were just taking forever. A Mikal offense. It seems like, okay, he scores. This doesn't make any sense what I'm about to say, but like it's like he takes forever to score. It seems like it takes longer than 24 seconds. By the time he gets a shot to go in, it seems like the Clippers already scored like twice on the other end. That's the way tonight seemed. It just seemed like the Clippers were already on the offensive end while Mikal was still trying to score his basket or Shamet. That's the way it felt. Maybe because I'm just comatose and I'm watching this game. And I thought I was watching the Cardinals or something the whole time.
But it feels like, to your point, it felt like the Suns were running in quicksand all night, probably because it felt like the Cardinals were running in quicksand all night too. I mean, it was this like 5-hour, 6-hour period of just like Arizona sports teams running in quicksand. You felt like you were constantly behind, and it all started with that fucking interception that Kyler Murray threw down on the goal line. Ever since that, it's just like. So,
yeah, sorry, man.
Coach Fallen Founder brings up an interesting point. He goes, is it me or can Chris Paul only take over in clutch time? And I think that this is an interesting observation because this is another thing that I put in my notes where when the Suns were having a hard time getting themselves out of their own way in that first quarter, as the second quarter began and throughout the second quarter, it was Chris Paul who actually played that entire period and did everything he could to get his team out of it. So kind of, so Coach, it feels like he can only take over in clutch time because that's when he's most effective. But if you look at how Chris Paul played tonight in an effort to try to keep his team in it and hopefully, kind of lift them to give them the push that could have brought them back against the Clippers, in that second quarter, he went 4 for 5 from the field, had 9 points, and had 3 assists. So
yeah.
I feel like Chris Paul, and Matthew, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like whenever the Suns know they need a basket, Chris Paul instinctively knows how to navigate those moments and generally delivers as he did tonight in the second. It's just everybody else around him. I mean, look, he went 4 for 5 in that quarter. The rest of the team went 6 for 15. So, I mean, it was Chris Paul, and that's pretty much it in that second quarter.
Yeah, that's really it because honestly, the 8 assists that I'm seeing right now, I thought he had less than that. Just the way these guys were like clanking shots.
So yeah.
So I mean, the way Chris Paul really handles the second quarters too in the past when Booker's there, it's him and the bench. It's really fun to watch. This is basically the same thing, right? It's him and the bench players. He's trying to roll the dice with these guys and get them involved, and he sets them up perfectly. It's just whether or not they're going to make the shots. His shots looked good. They looked like they were open. He even had the crossover on, I forget what's his nuts, and he missed it, and he got the foul and the technical. So there's a lot of good Chris Paul tonight. Just the shots were not going in, and I feel like when the Suns lose, it's always this thing where it's like every player this happens to, like it just trickles down, right, the roster to where like no one really can stand out and take over a game and score like the 40 burger to get the team a win. It's just usually everyone's affected by it.
Well, there's one guy who looked good tonight, Matthew, and I know you appreciate it.
Lights, Cameron, action.
Lights, camera, and action, baby. And I'll tell you, one of our Jamsters watching along live. If you are doing so, please hit that thumbs up button while you're here. Please subscribe, rate, and review, all that stuff. And head over to the podcast feed and give us a subscribe there as well. It really helps. But McCoy here says, this is just me, but Cam Johnson is better offensively. He put that comment up when we were talking about Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges versus Cameron Johnson. Who's the better offensive player?
Right now, it should be Mikal Bridges right now.
It should be, but it ain't.
It just went away. I don't know. I think it's very, very close. I don't know which one is better. It's just hit or miss. I think Cam Johnson tonight, what I love with Cam Johnson is his little layups. I think he has like the two-handed layups still that you practice. I think we talked about this before maybe. It's like in second grade when you're learning how to lay up the ball. or lay the ball up. He just like does a two-hand, but he's everywhere. And the best part of him tonight was drawing the foul to get to the line, just things like that, knowing they're in the bonus and nothing else is going. He hit a couple threes that didn't really matter, but later in the game, but he's getting there. It's so weird right now with the injuries that the Suns are going through, to where he doesn't have a clear role. I mean, they're playing him him and Jay are like splitting the 5 and 4, whatever they're trying to do down there most of the game when JaVale McGee's out. So he's just in a different role every night. It's just like he comes to work and it's something different. You know, people that love work, like, oh, I come to work, it's something different. Well, Cam Johnson, this is something different for him every night. And I approve of his effort, everything that is there. I just would like to say Mikal Bridges' offense should be better right now than Cam Johnson, but some games like tonight, it looks like Cam Johnson really has the upper hand, and it shouldn't be that way, I don't think.
It shouldn't be that way on a game like tonight, because Mikal Bridges isn't. I mean, there was no PG-13 in this. Kawhi Leonard's not playing. So, I mean, you know that he doesn't have that elite offensive player who he has to lock down and spend the majority of his energy on. Tonight's one of those nights where Mikal Bridges should have cooked, and he should have been the better offensive player. But Cam Johnson, coming off the bench, plays a total of 34 minutes and leads the team in scoring with 17 points. That's interesting. I bet you that's the first time that Cam Johnson has led the Suns in scoring in his entire career. Matthew, you should write an article for brightsideofthesun.com about that sheer thing. Just make that the article. Just I'm guessing. Don't even back it up with facts. Just literally say, like, I'm guessing that this is.
What is that supposed to mean, John?
No, I'm just saying, like, because who wants to go through and do all the research on that shit? It's not, that's a pain in the ass. But again, I think that he definitely is a better offensive player than Mikal Bridges at this point in both of their NBA careers. I trust him more when he's shooting the 3 ball. I trust him more when he's driving to the rim. Not to take anything away from Mikal. I definitely am pleasantly surprised when he has good offensive games, but he's more of our defensive stalwart. So
yeah.
A couple things I want to talk about real quick before we get to the Jam Star, because I don't want to spend a whole hour talking about this. I'm tired. It's going to snow outside. One, can you show all the Jamsters that shirt you're rocking, bro?
Yeah.
Look at this thing. That is for those of you who are listening, it sucks, but for those of you watching, you can see it is a vintage like Steve Nash shirt, and you can actually get it from Just Sports. That is a fantastic. It says Captain Canada on it. It's kind of that's fantastic. So if you're interested in purchasing that, again, the holidays are right around the corner. Go to shopjustsports.com. And if you put in Suns Jam in the discount code, you're going to get 15% off. And trust me, you want that awesome Suns gear. So looks really, really nice on there, Matthew.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for when you stood up, you had pants on. The Jamsters appreciate it.
I knew you would ask me to stand up, so I wore pants.
Real quick, Devin Booker. I did want to bring up something about Devin Booker. Did you see him? Like, was he talking shit at halftime? Like, as he was walking off the court, it looked like he was talking shit. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. What was he? Who was he talking to?
I don't know who he's talking to, but he was up in his street clothes talking shit to somebody. Looked like either a ref or a member of the Phoenix Suns had to kind of, guide him away. And I'm like, dude, if we have another tech in street clothes from Devin Booker again, I'm going to lose my shit. For those of you who don't remember the great Mexico City debacle from about 2 or 3 seasons ago, it was Devin Booker sitting on the sideline in street clothes when the Suns were playing the Spurs in Mexico City, who got a technical foul that changed that fucking game. And as he's watching off the court or walking off the court, I was like, dude, are you kidding me? Is Devin Booker getting another street clothes tech? Like I think he leads the league in that category.
Yeah, he has to, but I kind of want it because I miss Booker so much. I just want something of his presence other than him in street clothes, man.
Something that gets him into the box score.
Yes.
Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? I feel like I had something. I wrote Ish Wainright makes me miss Abdel Nader. I just said that.
I don't know, man.
You'd rather have Ish Wainright or Abdel Nader?
I don't know. I thought I saw Abdel out there tonight.
No,
I was seeing things.
Yeah, you were on some shit.
I thought, yeah.
Did you see the newest drop that I made for the last podcast?
No, let me see.
Stitch report.
Yes, I did see. I just didn't know if you made another one because you make them every minute.
There's nothing to talk about sticks, but I always I I just thought it was funny. I used Bart Simpson's voice. Suns Geeks watching along live in the chat. Good to know that you're doing good there, buddy, with everything that's going on in the Midwest. He says almost at 2,000 subscribers.
Almost
Yes,
there. Yeah.
we're so close. We're so close.
With your help, you get half my paycheck from YouTube. Sounds good.
Yeah, that savage YouTube paycheck that we got. So, well, let's just pop right into this one. I don't know if necessarily there's a right answer, but you know what? We'll still ask the question to everybody who's watching along.
Jam star of the game.
Matthew, who are you going to give your jam star of the game to?
You know, I'm gonna go Cameron Johnson, but Ish Smith at a moment there.
Ish
today,
Smith?
I was like,
Ish Smith.
oh, Ish Smith, Ish Wainright.
That's right. Don't you dare blaspheme in his name.
I probably wrote that in the recap too. Ish Smith, Ish Wainright.
I forgot you were writing the recap for Brightside.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got to
It's
read
funny.
that. That one's got to be all over the place with you all fucked up in the head right now.
Huh? Oh yeah, no, it's very, very more bland than usual for me. So it's but Ish Wainright, he was gonna be my guy because of the two plays. He had the corner three that just looked so nice, and then the putback dunk that seemed like it might have gave the Suns a little bit of a jolt to get maybe a good run that didn't end at 10 points. So I was thinking maybe him, but Cameron Johnson overall, I mean, we already have it in the comments to where his offense is looking really good. Games like this where you just don't know what the hell is going to go on and you're just playing random minutes with random positions. I think he's kind of that guy, right? And we talked about it. He's a tweener. Excuse my language, but he's a tweener. He's in between all these positions. He can play them basically all except for point guard or shooting guard, but he does a lot out there. So I have to give him props.
Yeah, I don't know. This is really a tough one. Cam Johnson, I guess, is the answer, just because he scored the most points. No one did any. I mean, again, it was just a weird night where no one could get any rhythm going, and the Suns overall couldn't get a rhythm on offense because they played some really good defense, kind of throughout the game. Yes, the Clippers ended with a total of 111 points, and that was largely due to the fact that they dropped 32 points in that last quarter, but they held them to 27 in the first, 29 in the second, and 23 in the third. So it was a good defensive. So that's all, I'll say the Suns defense. I'll give it to the defense. I think that they played solid defense tonight. They had 10 total steals, including 3 from your boy Cam Johnson, 3 from Chris Paul, 3 from Cam Johnson, a couple from Bridges. Crowder had 1 as well. And so I felt like the defense, was playing well. And that's what I always like to see. When the defense travels, good things are going to happen. So, I'll just give it to the defense on this one.
All right, baby.
Sound good? Sound good.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Blazers tomorrow for the Phoenix Suns. It's 8 o'clock in Arizona time, right?
I think it's just 7 o'clock regular, right?
Let me see. I'm on West Coast time. I'll actually be flying out of Reno tomorrow, even in a snowstorm, flying into Phoenix. But then I have that's just a connector to Palm Springs. So I'm going back to Palm Springs for 3 days. So I'll still be on West Coast time.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
So it's 7 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock your time.
TNT.
Yeah. Oh, it's a TNT game against the Blazers. Ooh, nice. Hell yeah! I got to watch that on the big TV. So what are you thinking about this game and this team? And do you expect more of the same? Are they going to kind of seen as it can be a copycat league at time? Do you think that the Portland Trailblazers are just going to sick Yusuf Nurkic on us and just destroy us from the inside out?
Yeah, they can try. It's funny it's weird. It's not funny because I do like the Blazers a lot. It's weird how, they've kind of hit, I don't know if it's rock bottom yet, but the way, they're 11 and 16 right now, their offensive numbers don't look good. They just never really picked up anything this year. You would have thought maybe by now they would get in sync a little bit. I want to see, I don't know. I don't want to see a trade, but I want to see something happen to that franchise because I think every time we do a game preview with the Blazers, it's always just the same shit. It's just the same thing. And this is what I usually say. It's the same thing with this team. Yeah. So I'm kind of sick of it. And I want to see something kind of mixed up over there. I mean, I know they used to have good chemistry. They had the good run back in 3 years ago or 2 years ago. So they had that, but I mean, it's kind of over now, I think, there in Portland. It's kind of sad to see. It just depends who's going to go. But this matchup right now or tomorrow night, it's going to be, Monty did play the Sun starters all the way to the 3-minute mark. I don't know if that's going to really matter tonight, but I don't think it's going to. I mean, it's Chris Paul, it's McGee. They're going to go out there and play as hard as they can. It depends who's going to suit up tomorrow too. Is Stick's going to be available? Is DeAndre Ayton going to be done having his trots? Is he going to be okay? to come play. I really hope we can have one of these guys come back to really kind of jumpstart this team again tomorrow night. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and stabilize the interior. I think that's everything when it comes to trying to predict a win or loss for this game. Yeah, I mean, I can't do it because I don't know who's going to be available. I hope that DA is going to be available.
I know.
Kind of like as you mentioned, like it's he's on the sideline, so it's not like he's like so sick. He's like, I just can't do it, coach. But again, we say the same things when it comes to the Blazers, and the same thing that we say over and over again is like this team and this roster just never makes sense. They're kind of like the Kings. They're kind of like the Timberwolves. There's certain rosters that just don't make sense. Now, the difference between the Kings, the Timberwolves, and the Blazers is you have the talent of Dame Lillard, and that's good for like 20 wins automatically. I mean, he's that good of a player. So knowing that he's going to be there, knowing that he's playing, right? Pretty sure he's playing.
Yeah, he is.
So Dame's playing. I mean, they've got a lot of big bodies inside. So we'll just have to wait and see who's going to be available for the Suns to play. And if we get DA back and or Jalen Smith, which feels kind of crazy to say, we'll at least, I feel, stand a chance in there because you have JaVale in there as well. That kind of trio can kind of hold down the fort if need be. So, I mean, I'm not going to predict a win or loss on this because it's just, I feel personally just a little too hard, just kind of due to the roster constraints relative to sickness right now.
Thoughts? Brains?
One thing I wanted to bring up with you, Matthew, before we get out of here today is something that we saw. Everyone's kind of talking about it on Twitter because Shams Charania tweeted out that both the New York Knicks and the Phoenix Suns have had interest in the past in Domantas Sabonis from the Pacers. The Pacers are a team that have publicly stated that they're kind of looking not necessarily to blow it up, but to tweak their roster a little bit. And for those of you who are more interested in kind of thoughts on this exact subject, you can check out Suns Geek channel. I watched his video before the game tonight, kind of as the Cardinals were slowly dying in front of my eyes. I was like, oh, hey, Suns Geek put out a new 4-minute video about Domantas Sabonis, so let me check this out. But what are your thoughts on the whole kind of Suns name being brought up when it comes to Domantas Sabonis trades?
Oh man, I mean, he's a guy I've always liked. Obviously, how are you going to make it work with the money? I mean, it's not really going to work, but I would like to have him on the team, of course. The chemistry thing, I mean, I'm back and forth. I'm a big flip-flopper on this thing. When you throw out a name like that, I mean, a 2-time All-Star, well, the last 2 years he made the All-Star team and playing the power forward position, supposedly. I mean, that's what he was set as a power forward. But he's definitely he's a great tool to have offensively, defensively. I mean, he's a big man that can pass. He would play alongside DeAndre Ayton. I don't know how that would work. And I don't know, is it weird to you, though, that his name is being brought up with the Suns? Like, this even seem like a thing the Suns would do? Because I just think that the way that we've been the last couple of years, including this year, is like, we're not really focused on adding any bigger pieces. He would be a big piece. And I just don't know how disruptive that would be. I do like him. I mean, if either way the Suns go, I know they wouldn't give up too much for him, but they would have to. So see, I'm just like, I'm back and forth with it, man. What do you think?
Well, I mean, he's a highly talented player. So whenever you hear your franchise linked to the likes of an all-star like Domantas Sabonis, a guy who kind of puts the Suns in a cement mixer as well. I mean, let's make no mistake about that. He's somebody who is he owns the Suns at times. We've beat him in the past, but I feel like there's times where he just kind of owns us. But whenever you hear that, you're just like, hey, that's interesting. God, if I had a podcast, I would probably talk about that tonight. So guess what? We have a podcast. So, that's why we're talking about it tonight. I think that although he is a fantastic talent, you utilized kind of the key word relative to this whole situation, and that is chemistry. He is somebody who is a massive piece. He's not a fringe player. The Suns right now, because of their chemistry, because of the fact that so many of these guys have been through so many battles together, regular season and playoffs now, you don't need to really mess with the core. It's the fringe areas. It's the Ish Wainright areas, the Abdul Nader areas of this roster you really need to focus on. So in order to get somebody like Domantas Sabonis, you really need to, one, take a look at your chemistry and say, would this affect it? The answer to me is absolutely. And two, how does it work salary wise? You're going to have to dish out some guys. So I think you could do like a Sticks / Dario Saric / one extra piece to do it. But I think ultimately it's not something the Suns don't need to pursue this. It was also kind of a weird tweet from Shams because he was just like, it was kind of like, hey, in the past he's been linked to the Phoenix Suns and the New York Knicks. Well, it's like, well, how far in the past? Was it like 2 weeks ago or like 2 years ago when we would have, given our right leg to have him here, and maybe
last year for Aiden? I don't know.
maybe. I mean, so again, I see a lot of Suns fans kind of talking about it. And, in my opinion, I really start to fall on that camp of, dude, like we have such an organic chemistry, don't mess with that. And Suns Geek says in the chat right now, he says trade rumors are flying right now, and that's correct because as of the 15th, a ton of the league becomes available for trade. Anybody who was traded over this past summer has to spend X amount of time with their current team before they're eligible for trade. So once that occurs, we're in that season right now where everybody's starting to talk about little trades here and there. And I think that with a league that's so far in the middle right now, as the NBA is, you're going to hear it more than ever because there's so many teams who feel like they're one piece away from going from in the middle to top tier. So you're really going to start to hear names like Domantas Sabonis. I mean, the Pacers, who only lost by 2 points to Golden State tonight, by the way, they really are just kind of in this rebuild mode, if you will, and we don't know what pieces they're going to give up and what assets they're going to try to acquire. But I don't feel like the Phoenix Suns even have the assets that would allow them to bring in a Domantas Sabonis.
No, this is Jay Crowder. And plus, like when McGee brought up how the Suns probably would have won the championship with him on the roster last year, which is maybe true.
Might be a fact.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about just the backup. So the backup would have helped definitely at the 5, but then you would also have a Domantas Sabonis in there with Aiden. So it's pretty deadly. I mean, that's something that's why you have to think about that because, I mean, if you're replacing
don't make me flip-flop too, man.
I know, just you're replacing him for Jay Crowder. I mean, I would do that, and that sucks to say, but
I would too.
I would. It makes your team better. And there's not really like the 3-headed monster teams anymore. Like the teams, even with two superstars on a team, no one can stay healthy. So if you grab him, and you have like the most stacked roster. I
would do it too. If it was 2K. But again, because of chemistry reasons, because then what you do, you take your 5th overall option, who we talked about earlier, Jay Crowder, you put Domantas Sabonis right there. Well, where does he fall in the hierarchy of 1, 2, 3, or 4 offensively? I mean, it changes too much. And again, if we were one of those teams that is in the middle, if we were the Clippers, a team that's better than average, but still needs a piece, you go for Domantas Sabonis. And that's always the scariest side of this too, is because the Suns are where they're at, our competitors are going to be making these kind of trades. And all of a sudden, it was like last year when Denver got Aaron Gordon. Now, I didn't think that we necessarily needed Aaron Gordon, but all of a sudden he comes into our conference and we have to play him in a playoff series. And you're like, damn, it would have been a lot nicer if we didn't have to play him. It's just, it's kind of that thinking.
Yeah, and then also if a team makes a trade, like how often do they make the trade and it helps them win a championship? Does that happen a lot? I mean, is there something you can think of? It really
doesn't. I can't think of one huge trade that changed the trajectory of a team mid-season. I think Bill Simmons has spent a lot of time talking about this in the past, where he'll break down like mid-season acquisitions, and it's like, I don't feel like in basketball it's as prevalent as it is in like baseball. I've seen it happen a ton in baseball where they'll bring in like a pitcher and then like, their lights out and they go all the way to the World Series, or they get Max Scherzer and he's like, I don't want to, my arm's just spent, man. I can't pitch anymore. I'm like, fuck you, Max Scherzer. Go to the Mets. Sorry. So serious in the chat says, can't wait for Matthew's medicated childhood trauma. His sober ones are pretty rough. I think on that note,
childhood trauma.
I think you are a little out of it today, so I think we should take a little childhood trauma talk. Let's have a little talk about being sick as a kid. Are there any weird stories from you being sick as a kid you want to share with the group?
I can't think of any right now. Do you want to go first? If you have a story?
I'll start with one. I'll never forget this. I lived in watchers. Here we go. This is where we lose all of our watchers because we're no longer talking about Suns. We're talking about our childhood trauma. But you mentioned being sick. A lot of players in the NBA are sick right now. It's December. It's one of those things. It gets cold. People start to get the sniffles and such, which is like really kind of. In fact, here's a quick story. This isn't childhood trauma. This happened to me this morning. You want to hear this morning? This is funny shit. So last night, working in the restaurant, our dishwashing machine broke for our glasses, and it didn't break. It couldn't drain. And we had a big brunch this morning where we needed a bunch of glasses for like a 25 top. So I told the team, I'm like, listen, I'll go first thing in the morning. I'm gonna go get some microfiber towel so we could polish the glasses in the morning because we could run them through another machine. They just come out spottier. So I go to the dollar store here in Reno this morning. Cold as shit, raining on me this morning, 7:30. I pull in, I drive in, I go in, I find the microfibers towels, and I walk up to the cashier, and I'm like, hey, good morning, how you doing? She goes, I feel like shit. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, I can't stop wheezing. And then she's like, I like to use my inhaler, but it's got too many steroids in it. I'm just sitting there on the other side, half asleep, and just be like, what are you talking about, ma'am? And I was like, oh, okay. And normally, like when people say they're having a bad day, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to hear about that or whatnot. And I was just like, I just didn't respond. So she's ringing my stuff up, and the last thing I got an energy drink, right? So she's like, boop, with my energy drink, and then sitting on and she's like, I got hand sanitizer all over my hands. So she pulls this spray bottle, she starts spraying my energy drink all over. She's like, it'll wash off all my hand sanitizer, so you're not tasting hand sanitizer. I'm like, please just don't worry about it. And she's like, it's okay, it's my water. I think my coworker's trying to poison me. And
what is going on?
I have no idea. In my head the whole time, I'm just like, where's the fucking self-checkout here? Like, get me as far away from this person as possible. She's clearly sick. She shouldn't be here today. I mean, and so I think like 99-cent store, like their motto should be like 99-cent store, keeping it a little too real. So when you ask a question.
So it's funny how you mentioned that, because I was talking about 99-cent store and how like the checkout people are always super nice. And like,
I got the
chill.
exact. I mean, it's not that she wasn't nice. She was just really real with me this morning.
Oh yeah.
So,
but
awesome, that happened this morning. But childhood trauma. I'll give you one story of me being sick as a child, unless you thought of one in between, and then I'll back.
I did, but you want to
go for it. No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So speaking of seeing things, when I was younger, I used to have. I think everyone used to have like the imaginary girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. And
no, they didn't.
No, they didn't. But mine was like.
But mine.
So I don't know if this was real or not, but so when I was younger, up to like when I was like 26 years old, I used to sleep next to my mom's bed and like sleep next to there because I was scared when I was little. And I used to think I had like a girlfriend. Her name was Flower, and it was a lady, and she was like in a red dress, and it seems like very typical, right?
No,
but I remember like
no.
I just remember her being like, I don't remember seeing her. I remember like an image of me like on the side of the bed looking up, and then her walking across. But I don't know if I'm just making that up or not.
So were you like sick enough to the point where you're kind of in that hallucination mode?
I don't know if I was sick. I wasn't sick. It was just
You're just
can
crazy.
Ask Shannon too. You can ask Shannon. It was like my imaginary girlfriend was Flower.
And you saw her one day.
Yeah, but I didn't know anything about intimacy or anything. So when she would come over, like just lay there or something. That's it.
Wow, that's Matthew's imaginary girlfriend, Flower. Okay, well, I got one where I felt like I was hallucinating. It was because I was sick. One time, I'll never forget this. I was living in Simi Valley, California. It was 1990 something or other, and I remember my mom made like a lasagna for dinner, and my mom worked graveyard for a bank at the time. She was like a systems analyst or something or other for a First Interstate bank. And she made lasagna, she left it on the table, and then she went to work. And I went to go eat it. And following eating it, I got violently ill, like throwing up, couldn't sleep all night. My mom's not there. My dad's probably out in the pigeon lofts petting pigeons or something. That's for those of you who haven't seen those episodes about my dad and pigeons. I mean, it was my life. And I remember one time getting up in the middle of the night, going to the bathroom, throwing up, and believing that the entire carpet outside of the bathroom was all ants. And I was like terrified to get back to my room. And I was like hallucinating. I was like in that mode.
Oh my God.
And I didn't eat lasagna for about 20 years after that. It wasn't until your sister Christy made lasagna for Christmas one year that I
Uh-huh.
finally ate lasagna again. And then Stephanie makes it, and now Shannon makes it too. It's like your
Yeah.
family got me back on the lasagna.
Oh,
On
yeah.
the, but I mean, because it's good, it's really good. But I mean, I literally had every time I could even smell lasagna, I associated it with that violent sickness and the hallucination of ants everywhere.
Oh, that sounds like a dream too. And
Yeah,
like on
it's
it, was there
just
something
like
in
flour.
the lasagna? Was it like special brownies or whatever?
I don't know.
Same
I
thing?
I think I was already kind
Maybe.
of sick, and then my mom, I think it sat out too long. You know,
Yeah.
with like the ricotta cheese and stuff, and I think I just got
Okay.
some bad cheese or something. But of course, none of my
Some
siblings.
bad cheese.
I think,
Yeah.
but none of my siblings got sick either. But
Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
horrifying, man.
Yeah,
Ugh.
almost as horrifying as flour as your imaginary girlfriend in a red dress. So
Yeah, she's kind of cute.
you guys would just lay there, huh?
I guess I only remember like 2 seconds. So
Well, that's childhood trauma. Thank you for anyone who stuck around to listen to that. And that just goes to show you what kind of night it's been. It's just been a weird night. You know, December 13th, 2001 will always go down. It's just kind of a weird night in not only Suns history, but Suns Jam Session podcast history as well. So we thank those of you who've stuck around and listened to the podcast on wherever you're getting your podcast. Please subscribe wherever you're at. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. Don't just give 5 stars, write a little something. We'll read it right here on the pod. And again, if you are listening or if you're watching along live, hit that thumbs up button down below and please subscribe. Please, we are so very close to getting to 2,000 subscriptions. And once again, a reminder, if you want to donate to the American Red Cross to assist those families who've been affected by those tornadoes, you know, it's devastating to see that kind of stuff, but you can hit them up 1-800-733-2767 or visit redcross.org. Matthew, you can follow you where?
at Matthew Lissy.
You can follow me at Darth Voida. You can follow the show on Twitter at Suns Jam. On that note, we'll see you tomorrow night. Hopefully Matthew's feeling a little bit better, and I will be in a different city and state altogether.
All right, yeah, everyone go home and love your family.
Or flower.